The media and the Democrats are so desperate to attack President Trump and this administration that they've sunk low enough to manipulate stories about the military in a time of war. That's right, they're now using our servicemen and women as pawns to further their own political ends. Just take a look at this narrative that they're pushing out there about the USS Abraham Lincoln.
Families tell MS Now the crew has gone hungry, without showers or mail, basic toiletries or hot water or drinkable water for long stretches, as the fleet can't keep up with the increased logistics of an open-ended war.
So breaking tonight, the alarming news involving American troops and the war in Iran. Tonight, disturbing reports of sailors on the USS Abraham Lincoln attempting to go overboard. What some military family members are now saying.
My understanding is that you spoke today to a grandmother whose grandson is on board the USS Lincoln. What did she tell you?
Well, she is a constituent of mine. She lives in Sun City. Her grandson is aboard the Lincoln. He works as an electrician's mate, and he's struggling as well. He's depressed about the situation he is in. He doesn't know when this deployment is going to end. I'd say the most disturbing thing she told me is she saw a picture of him, and she said when he got into the Navy, he was already like a skinny kid. He's 21 years old. She says it looks like he's lost 20 to 25 pounds.
I mean, yeah, you can't miss this story. It is the biggest issue right now in the mainstream media. If you turned on your TV for just 5 minutes a day, you would be led to believe that soldiers are actively starving to death on the USS Abraham Lincoln. There are even a few outlets running this story that there was this massive fight that killed 7. I'll get to that later in the video. And unfortunately, it's not just the mainstream media. If you go on social media, you've probably seen images like this that claim to show the portion sizes on the USS Abraham Lincoln. Obviously, the meat is gross, the portions are just terrible, and it's been shared on websites such as Drudge, Hegseth, Ship of Horrors, and the soldier supposedly saying, "Hope I don't wake tomorrow." Well, there is just one problem with all of this. These images aren't new. In fact, they're from a few months ago. These images came from an article published on USA Today, and if you take a close look, it was published April 16, 2026. So these images have been out there for a few months now, and isn't it interesting? The media did not care about this story at all a few months ago. Again, it's not as if this is new. I can't help but wonder if their attempt to attack President Trump with the Air Force One story failed, and now they're trying to find something else to attack him. I think they smell blood in the water, right? There's been a lot of anxiety about the economy. There's been a lot of concern and consternation about the war in Iran. And so I think the media is grasping onto whatever they can grasp onto. But the reason they never pushed this story way back in April was because it was unable to be verified. In fact, Snopes, which has been very aggressive towards President Trump, not just in this administration, but even in his first term, they couldn't verify this at all. The rumor stems from reporting by USA Today. Snopes does not rely on anonymous sources because we could not view the reported images nor confirm the identities of the people who took them. We leave this claim unrated. Well, has the media done any of their homework? Why aren't they sharing the names? Why aren't they showing proof that these photos are actually legitimate, that these photos are actually coming from the USS Abraham Lincoln? I believe it's because they can't. And in fact, the worst part for the media in all of this is just 3 to 4 weeks ago, CNN actually embedded a reporter on the ship. Her name is Pamela Brown. And guess what? When she was on the ship, she actually filmed the dining hall, and things were so well that she actually had ice cream with our servicemen and women.
Back on the Abraham Lincoln, it can be tough to keep spirits high for the nearly 5,000 people here. Because of its limited port visits, the Navy considers this deployment among the longest consecutive days at sea for any aircraft carrier.
I mean, I haven't stepped off the ship in the year 2026.
Most have been here more than 6 months, under threat and missing their families.
It's not as if that's coming from Fox News or some right-leaning media outlet. I guarantee you if Pamela Brown or any of the crew at CNN had any whiff of there being a food shortage or of the military being mistreated or of any bad conditions on the ship, they would have reported on it when they put that segment. But instead, they showed the entire world the food hall. They showed that ice cream social of which Pamela Brown participated. So which is it? Did things really really deteriorate so bad? I mean, supposedly, way back in April, USA Today shows those skinny portions, and we're supposed to believe that things got better so good that they had an ice cream social just a month ago, and now they've deteriorated again to the point where Mark Kelly is going on MS Now claiming that someone's lost up to 20 pounds. By the way, if you look at any of the servicemen and women in that video, did any of them look like they were starving or malnourished or like they were, dejected or anything like that? And look, I'm not trying to minimize this. This is now the longest mission ever on record at sea, 266 days. That is a long time on a boat, and no one is trying to dispute the challenges that come along with that. They are, in fact, obviously, in an active war zone. And so obviously there are challenges there. No one is trying to minimize any of that. We are thankful for their service, their commitment, their duty to this country. But for the media to try to create a controversy where there is none, for them to use our servicemen and women as political pawns in order to bash the administration, that is sick. It would be one thing if they could keep their story straight, but clearly the mainstream media can't. And in fact, CNN actually invited a father of one of the soldiers on air, and they attempted to corner him about the conditions on the ship. And even he's saying, well, no, everything is fine.
So when we spoke before this, you described your child as, quote, proud of what they're doing out there, while simultaneously saying, they're ready to come home. Tell us, how are they doing, and how are you doing with the deployment?
Well, all of us parents miss our children very much, and I know we're all very proud of them. As far as my particular child, I've heard pretty positive feedback about the conditions there. Although I noticed the sailor saying the work is repetitive, that is something that we hear a lot. And we understand that they're under a lot of mental stress and have nothing but sympathy and respect for the hardships and the stress that are inherent to the operation that they're conducting right now.
Yeah, and I think what you said is,
I guarantee you, CNN was hoping that the father of that sailor would confirm the reporting, that he would bash the administration and just be really negative, but instead, he really said the exact opposite, right? That things on the ship, the conditions aren't as bad as the media and the Democrats are making it out to be. And that's not to say that there haven't been challenges. There have been challenges. According to the New York Times, the problems on the USS Abraham Lincoln are tied to attacks on a U.S. base early in the war. Diego Garcia, a tiny island 2,200 miles from the Gulf of Oman, took over as the Navy's logistic hub after Iran damaged a base in Bahrain. So, that attack, that's not something that Trump or the administration has done wrong. That's not because of mismanagement. That is because, again, an actual war, a war zone, and the enemy combatants attacked one of our military bases, one of our ports, and that caused issues in the supply chain. And whenever there's an issue in any supply chain, there's always a bit of a troubleshooting period. It always takes a while to get the kinks out. And guess what? The administration isn't running from this. They're not denying that there have been issues. What they are saying is that this is not a deliberate attempt by the administration or even some sort of sick, gross human experiment, which some in the media are now pushing. I'll get to that in just a few moments here. But Hung Cao from the administration has now spoken out, and he does acknowledge some of these things. Look, 266 days deployed, 200 days in the combat zone, yada, yada, yada. All of that is difficult, but it is also true a small number of mental health cases were treated with no loss of life. Meal plans were adjusted when fresh resupply was unavailable without a single meal being missed. Calls home were limited when the operational threat was too high. So he's not denying that there have been challenges, but he's just saying that, hey, look, there have been challenges. We're dealing with this and we're moving forward. What the media and what the Democrats have been saying is a gross exaggeration, a gross mischaracterization of what's actually happening on that ship. And in fact, some in the media have claimed that things were so bad on the ship due to food shortages and just depression and low morale that there was this massive fight that broke out on the ship, and because of that fight 7 sailors died. 7 sailors supposedly lost their lives due to the bad conditions on the ship from a fight. Well, we now know that all of that is fake. It's all false. And where did that rumor start? No. Unfortunately for the mainstream media, they have pie all over their face. Iranian media claims 7 died in a brawl aboard USS Abraham Lincoln. U.S. Central Command denies that report. In other words, the media and the Democrats are more likely to believe Iranian state media, Iranian terrorist propaganda media over the American government. How sick is that? And they're pushing that out there to their viewers without any disclaimer. They're not even saying, hey, this is where we got this information. They're not saying this is where we got our facts. No, they're just putting it out there as if it's true, without any verification at all. How sick is that? While CNN had Parnas on, if you're on Instagram or TikTok, you've probably seen him. He's even here on YouTube, but he has gone mega viral for a few of his claims, which I would like to debunk.
Well, my next guest has been watching this story very closely. Independent journalist Parnas joins me now. I mean, the accounts that are being told, horrific. I mean, they are talking about the deprivation that some of them are feeling, the mental health issues that are happening, people jumping overboard. And you've spoken to families of the service members. What are they telling you?
Well, I mean, I think it's not just one account, right?
Yeah.
It's consistent across the board, and it's not on just one ship. Service members across the region right now are suffering. They have lack of hygiene products. They have lack of fresh food. I mean, I was a lawyer before doing this work, and I saw prison inmates having better meals than some of these service members are having aboard some of these aircraft carriers right now. It is very bad, and I think the worst part about it all is that their mental health is suffering. A lot of
So you would think a lawyer would be smart enough to pick up on the issue in this text message. So Parnas posted this on social media, supposedly from a sailor. Even people that have been deployed 100 times claim this one to be the worst and believe it can get worse than this. The Navy does not care. The mission will always come first. Now, I ran all of these texts through AI. They are not AI generated, so they were at least written by a human. Of course, I cannot independently verify the veracity of these texts, but just one thing stood out here. Been deployed 100 times. Now look, usually the minimum length of a deployment is about 6 months. So if someone's been deployed 100 times, 100 times 6 equals 600 divided by 12 months in a year. That means that someone would have been deployed for about 50 years. Is that sailor really on a ship with someone deployed for 50 years? Now, obviously, some of you are going to say, well, Daniel, he's just exaggerating. He's just using, one of his many rhetorical tools deployed 100 times to get his point across that none of this is normal. But here's the thing from that text. If someone is exaggerating in a text about one thing, are they not more likely to be exaggerating about other things? Why couldn't you say a more experienced, someone who's been deployed 1 or 2 times or a dozen times, or someone who's been here for 5 years, 10 years? But no, they have to put in writing someone who's been deployed 100 times or more. Really? Like, if you are exaggerating about that, it makes me question the rest of your judgment, the rest of your claims. Because once you exaggerate on something, again, everything is put into question. So for Parnas, who, again, is a lawyer, to not pick up on that, not have any question about it, really makes me wonder about his sources there. Well, the media, the Democrats, they can't have it both ways, because just a few months ago, they were actually complaining that Pete Hegseth was spending too much food on our military. You cannot make this stuff up. But before we get to that, I would like to acknowledge the members of today's Governor's Club. They are Greg Anderson, State of Dades Graffett, and Moon Fairy 11. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you enjoy. Well, you may remember late last year, the big controversy was steak and lobster. And in case you don't remember what I'm talking about, take a look.
He has spent $15 million in 1 month for ribeye steak, $6.9 million for lobster tail, $225 million for furniture. He spent more in the month of September than most countries on earth spend in their defense.
Paul, do you believe
all
do you
for
believe,
himself? Lobster tails?
Do you believe
while our troops are eating MREs?
No.
Do
you believe the Secretary of Defense is personally eating all the lobster?
Well, he
it's
can't
for
eat
the
16.
Troops.
Oh, really? The troops are getting lobster
frequently in theater.
Oh my God!
Troops who are going to war.
Oh my God!
Great meal. You know that.
They're getting lobster. You are so full of it.
Killed over this.
You're
going to get killed over this. Internet.
Brothers D-Fact has steak and lobster. How's your steak and lobster?
All right. Damn near decent.
How's yours?
I'm ready for war.
We're going to war. I might have to double it.
You really can't make this up, right? I mean, they can't keep their story straight. Which is it? The Pentagon and Pete Hegseth spend way too much on food, or now they're starving them on purpose. They're running this sick experiment and seeing how long they can deprive them of food while the sailors are out at sea. Which is it, media? Which is it, Democrats? Please make up your mind. As always, though, all of this is my analysis and commentary. That's what's happening in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So where are you on this entire story? Do you think that there's nothing wrong on the U.S. Abraham Lincoln? Do you think a lot is wrong? Do you believe the mainstream media, or are you somewhere in the middle that, hey, there are challenges, and of course there are going to be shortages and issues whenever a port is attacked, but hey, the military, the government, and all of our resources are doing whatever they can to make sure things are back on track, back on schedule, and you can't discount the impact that an attack on a port has. So where are you on the scale of all of this? Let me know your opinions, your thoughts down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.